Good morning, friends. How are you this fine morning? Happy Thursday. How the heck are you? Drop me a note in the comments. Let me know you are here. If you're on Facebook, hit that get notified when Mike goes live button. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about practicing that pause for men. And why do we struggle with that? Why is that so hard for us guys to do that? Morning, Derek. How are you, my friend? All right, my friends. Welcome to Men Up with Mike, episode, what did we say, 146, I think? 146. Can you believe that? This is the show where we talk all things personal development, leadership, and what it means to be a man. Good morning, Mitch. Good morning, Anne, over on the website. If you guys are watching me on Facebook, if you are watching me on LinkedIn, I'd love it if you would join us over on the website, mikecameron.ca/live. Then I got your real time. We can keep this conversation going, have a little bit of interactivity. Oh, I only did a snippet of that song. But drop me a note in the comments. Let me know you guys are here. And let's talk a little bit about a couple of things. Let's talk about why it's important to practice that pause. Let's talk a little bit about why it's so difficult for men in particular to practice the pause, to learn how to slow down. And then let's talk about some strategies to bring that into your life. So, why is it important to practice that pause? Why is it important to slow down? If you've followed me for a while, you know I talk about this a lot. That SOAR framework: slow down, open up, accept, and reconnect with our purpose, with our inner self, with our reason for being. But it all starts with that slowdown. You'll be amazed at what can happen when we learn how to practice that pause. I know it can feel like it's this sort of overused hippie platitude that, we need to practice meditation. We need to learn to quiet the mind. We need to learn to slow down. And for many of us, again, men in particular, we've got this story, this narrative that's been handed to us that in order to be valuable, in order to be worthwhile, we've got to be productive. We've got to be busy. We've got to be making beautiful shit happen all the time. And what you need to understand is that slowing down doesn't mean being less productive. Slowing down doesn't mean being less successful. Slowing down doesn't mean being less valuable. In fact, it's the exact opposite. When we learn to slow down, when we learn to practice that pause, we can in fact add more value to this world. We can in fact become more successful as human beings. When we learn how to practice that pause, when we learn how to slow down, we can start to notice things. We can be aware of opportunities. We can start to catch ourselves in those self-limiting thoughts, those self-limiting behaviors. This was one of the things we talked about at our Connected Men's group last night, was where do we get in our own way? And we talked about this on the show, the self-sabotage piece. But we can't deal with that self-sabotage. We can't deal with those self-limiting beliefs if we're going at 100 miles an hour, because we're moving too fast to actually become aware of the problems that are facing us. We're moving too fast. We're too busy. We're too caught up in trying to do the thing that we can't often see the forest for the trees. And as men, we're conditioned that this is how we need to live, that we've got to be the provider, we've got to be the supporter, we've got to hustle, we've got to hustle, 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 hustle. But nobody ever teaches us to just slow down. And when we can't live up to that societal pressure of hustle, and we keep pushing aside all the crap that comes up for us, all those negative feelings, those feelings of overwhelm, like I can't fucking do this anymore. When we try and just push those away, we don't actually deal with them, and they just fester and they grow and they multiply until finally something explodes. Good morning, Michelle. Thanks for the coffee and breakfast this morning, babe. When we can't learn to slow down, we don't recognize these things that are getting in our way. We don't recognize the things that hold us back. And if we don't recognize them, we can't change them. I talk about this a lot. With awareness comes choice. Once we know better, we can do better. But if we're blindly ripping by at 100 miles an hour and we never take the time to just slow down, we'll never have the opportunity to be purposeful about how we live, to be intentional. And this is really, really hard for us as dudes, especially. And I don't know that we often think about how much pressure there is on us, whether that's self-imposed, societal imposed, but we put this ridiculous amount of pressure on us as guys to have our shit together, to move at 100 miles an hour. Hey, I'm going to butcher your name, Vahan? I want to talk to you, my friend. I love the work that you're doing. But yeah, as men, we're not taught to slow down. We're taught to go 100 miles an hour. And when we do that, we miss out. We miss out on life. Maybe we miss out on our kids' first steps. You know, how many dads have been busy making a living, so busy making a living, that we forget to have a life, that we miss our kids' first steps, those music recitals. I had to work because I had to provide. What if I just slow down a little bit? So how do we do that? So again, we've talked about the why it's important to slow down. We talked about why it's difficult for men to slow down. So to come back to that, I want you to understand that you're not alone. And what I hear from so many men that I work with is that, yeah, but Mike, you don't understand. I'm not that guy. I can't do that. I'm go, 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 go. And we start to wear this as a badge of honor. This becomes our identity, when in fact, it's just this big coat of armor. This story that we run in our head that I'm not that guy. I can't slow down. Bullshit. You can absolutely slow down. It's not easy, and it takes practice. But the benefits are unbelievable. We were chatting last night. One of the guys I work with was talking about his son and how he has some impulse control issues. And they've recently started, his son has joined him in his morning meditation practice. And don't get freaked out. I know, men, when I say meditation, it's like, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't blank my mind. I can't quiet my mind. I'll come back to that because that's not what it's about. But the impact that just slowing down with his dad every single morning with intention for 5 to 10 minutes has had on his behavior has been incredible. I loved hearing the story. And it wasn't a matter of weeks, months, or years. It was a matter of days that he added this practice of practicing that pause, of learning to slow down, that those thought patterns start to change, those behavior patterns start to change. And the same holds true for us as men. You know, oftentimes we want to wait until we're in crisis to employ the tools. When I'm enraged, when I'm in a fury, that's when I'll slow down. That's when I'll practice that pause. But the reality is, if we don't practice in the calm for the coming of the storm, if we don't practice when life is good, how the hell do you think we're going to show up when life is challenging? Imagine a professional sports team. Imagine if they only showed up on game day. How well do you think they would do if they didn't have any practice in between games? How well do you think they would perform? Not very well at all, I can assure you. So when it comes to life, when it comes to us as men, believing that when the shit hits the fan, when life throws us a curveball, when your girlfriend gets murdered, that's not the time to be pulling out the tools for the first time. We need to do that on a regular basis. It's no different than going to the gym. Again, we wouldn't expect to get physically fit if we don't put in the time, the work, and the effort. Good morning, Jamie. How are you, my friend? What is going on with you? Drop me a note in the comments. Let me know what's going on. We haven't chatted in a while. But yeah, again, we wouldn't expect a professional sports team to only show up at games. They have some practices in between. So why would we wait till shit hits the fan until we employ the tools? Again, our physical fitness, we know it. If we don't exercise, if we don't work out, we don't expect to be fit. You know, I run 100-mile ultra marathons. I don't just show up on race day and expect that I can run 100 miles. There's an awful lot of practice and an awful lot of training that goes into that. I've always said you do it in the off season much more important than what you do on the ice. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What we do in the off season is much more important than what we do on the ice. And that's so true. And it takes discipline. COVID has stopped me from running, Jamie says. Oh, Jamie, I'm going to reach out to you. COVID doesn't stop you from running. That stops you from running. But I get it. It's challenging. But yeah, again, we need to implement Ah, there you go. There you go. He caught himself. I love it. I love it, Jamie. I love it. So we need to put these practices in place where we can practice in the calm, practice in the off season. So when it's game day, we're ready to go. So how do we do that? How do we practice the slowdown? And again, as guys, if I tell you meditation, you're probably going to tune out right here, right now. But what if I just told you, put on some quiet music and just sit for 60 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever you can handle. Start small. Forget about what your mind is doing. Just start to notice what your body's doing. Use that breath to slow everything down, right? When we're breathing, what does that do to us? When we breathe slowly with intention, what does that do to us? We know it works. It's involuntary sometimes. That sigh that comes up. What if we got intentional with that? Take 60 seconds. Practice those long, slow breaths. Start today. Schedule 60 seconds. That's all it takes. Practice that breath. Then as you grow and expand, start to notice how that breath comes into the body. Start to notice those physical changes that happen in your body, that chest expanding, that chest contracting. What happens if we move that down to our diaphragm? What if we start breathing there? What if you put a hand over your heart and a hand over your belly? And you start to feel those physical changes, and you start to notice them. You start to pay attention to them. Forget about what your mind is doing. That's not important. Just start to notice what's going on in your body. Notice those areas of tension again as you progress. Maybe you take 60 seconds, make it 2 minutes. Start to notice what's going on in your body. Those physical sensations, that connection of my bum on the chair, what does that feel like? The connection of my hands touching each other. What happens when I open my palms? Can I feel that energy release? What's happening in my jaw? Where do I feel that? What about my brow? Those places we often feel tension. And you don't need to try and fix it. You don't need to try and change it. Start by just noticing it. And once you get past that physical piece, once you've gotten comfortable with that physical piece, then you can start to bring that awareness to your emotional piece. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling peaceful. I'm feeling calm. I'm feeling content. In fact, I'm feeling excited. The fact that we have the opportunity to have this kind of conversation is exciting. Then you can start to bring that awareness to your mind when you're ready. Maybe it's a day, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a year. It doesn't matter. It's about implementing the practice. When you start to bring that awareness to your thoughts, again, it's not about changing your thoughts. It's about noticing them, becoming aware of them. So often we have these stories running on autopilot and we don't even know it. That negative self-talk can be so damaging. But if we're not even aware of it, How do I change it? So again, it doesn't need to start with blanking the mind, wiping the thoughts clear. It just starts with noticing them. What's going on in my head right now? Get curious. Anytime you feel that judgment coming up, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I shouldn't be thinking that. What if you replace that judgment with curiosity? What are those thoughts? Where do they come from? What do I really mean by that? What am I really feeling? Start to ask yourself those questions. And again, don't judge what's going on in here. Don't judge what's going on in here. Just start to get curious about it. Interesting. Why am I thinking that? Why am I feeling that? And when we start to do that, you'll find that it shows up in so many different aspects of your life, so many different areas. When the kids are driving you nuts, when that person cuts you off in traffic, you've got those reservoirs built up, those reservoirs of calm that you've stored up, that practice of taking that pause. When somebody at work pisses you off and you want to throat punch them, you've got the tools now. You know, you can just take that pause, practice that pause, take that breath. All right, my friend. I know this one can be hard. I know it can be challenging. I hope you'll join me over at mikecameron.ca. We'd love to have you as part of the community. Click on the community tab, sign up, register. It's completely free. There is some resources there. There will be more resources there for registered users. Again, completely free. I'm working on a set of practice the pause for dudes. I'd call them meditations, but no guys would take them on. So we're going to call it practice the pause. And I'm going to walk you through maybe 10 days of practicing that pause, implementing a practice into your daily routine. Where can we do that? Where can we get a little more intentional with that? Jamie, so good to see you, my friend. Yeah, I would love to have you over at mikecameron.ca. Join the community there. Hop on, get involved. All right, my friend. I actually have a client that I will be practicing the pause with in about 15 minutes. It's one of the things they were wrestling with. So we hop on for 10 minutes every morning and we just practice the pause together. All right, my friend, as always, continue to make beautiful shit happen and have yourself a fantastic day. Take care.